Matthew 8. After he came down from the mountain, large crowds followed him, and a leper approached and bowed low before him, saying, Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean. He stretched out his hand and touched him, saying, I am willing, be clean. Immediately his leprosy was cleansed. Then Jesus said to him, See that you do not speak to anyone, but go show yourself to the priest and bring the offering that Moses commanded as a testimony to them. When he entered Capernaum, a centurion came to him asking for help. Lord, my servant is lying at home paralyzed in terrible anguish. Jesus told him, I will come and heal him. But the centurion replied, Lord, I am not worthy to have you come under my roof. Instead, just say the word, and my servant will be healed. For I, too, am a man under authority with soldiers under me. I say to this one, Go, and he goes, and to another, Come, and he comes, and to my slave, Do this, and he does it. When Jesus heard this, he was amazed and said that those who follow him, I tell you the truth, I have not found such faith in anyone in Israel. I tell you, many will come from the east and west to share the banquet with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the sons of the kingdom will be thrown out into outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then Jesus said to the centurion, Go! Just as you believed, it will be done for you. And the servant was healed at that hour. Now when Jesus entered Peter's house, he saw his mother-in-law lying down sick with fever. He touched her hand, and the fever left her. Then she got up and began to serve them. When it was evening, many demon-possessed people were brought to him. He drove out the spirits with a word, and he healed all who were sick. In this way, what was spoken of the prophet Isaiah was fulfilled. He took our weaknesses and carried our diseases. When Jesus saw a large crowd around him, he gave orders to go to the other side of the lake. Then the experts in the law came to him and said, Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go. Jesus said to him, Foxes have dens, and the birds of the sky have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head. Another of the disciples said to him, Lord, let me first go and bury my father. But Jesus said to him, Follow me, and let the dead bury their own dead. As he got into the boat, his disciples followed him, and a great storm developed on the sea, so that the waves began to swamp the boat. But he was asleep. So they came and woke him up, saying, Lord, save us! We're about to die! But he said to them, Why are you cowardly, you people of little faith? Then he got up and rebuked the wind and the sea, and it was dead calm. And the men were amazed and said, What sort of person is this? Even the winds and the sea obey him. When he came to the other side, to the region of the Gadareans, 2 demon-possessed men coming from the tombs met him. They were extremely violent, so that no one was able to pass by that way. They cried out, Son of God, leave us alone! Have you come here to torment us before our time? A large herd of pigs was feeding some distance from them. Then the demons begged him, If you drive us out, send us into the herd of pigs. And he said, Go! So they came out and went into the pigs, and the herd rushed down the steep slope into the lake and drowned in the water. The herdsmen ran off, went into the town, and told everything that had happened to the demon-possessed men. Then the entire town came out to meet Jesus, and when they saw him, they begged him to leave the region. Hey, welcome in, Luces. Good to see you there. Bum, 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 bum. Looks like Katrina Waves is in the house. Good to see you, friend. All right. So we have a series of Jesus demonstrating power over. So after he has done the Sermon on the Mount and done the teach. Why is it scrolling down? Like, I keep scrolling up, and then it's weird. Going the wrong way. I'm trying to get to the bottom. Or the top, I should say. All right. There we go. Back finally to where I should be. Okay. So, after the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus goes to get into a boat to cross to the other side. But there's the other side, what does that mean? An old joke that you need when you were younger. Why did Peter deny Jesus? I don't know. Why did Peter deny Jesus? Okay, so he's getting in the boat. The Sermon on the Mount is done. And what we're going to now have is, so we have his words, his teaching, and now his teaching is going to be accompanied by miraculous proofs to validate that he is a prophet. So he taught with one who had authority. Oh, wow, I still got to go another chapter up. Sorry, my mistake there. Hey, Jim Bim, hello. Lucis, because he brought his mother-in-law. That's why Peter denied Jesus, because he brought his mother. Yeah, I haven't heard that joke in a while. Okay, yep, that's an old one. After he came down from the mountain, so this is right after the teaching on the mountain, he has a series of healings, and they are to show the breadth of his ability. So healing cleanliness, so being a leper is an unclean state. He cannot participate in worship or society being a leper. He has to, because of Levitical laws, remain away from everyone else. And when he heals him, which is interesting, the belief of the leper, we have two things going on here. We have the belief of the people that are in the story and the healing types that Jesus does. So we have a healing that's a cleansing from something that keeps you ritually impure. So he's not able to go to the temple to worship God. He's not able to be part of society. He has complete faith. Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean. Statement of fact. Like, I know you have the power, Jesus, you can do this. And so Jesus chooses to do this. But what Jesus says is, don't go tell people. Go do the proper procedure to be restored into community. So be clean, and then says, go and don't speak to anyone, but go show yourself to the priest and make the offering that Moses commanded as a testimony to them. So go get fully restored back to community. That's the thing here. And then there's places where there's this idea of the divine secret, as if Jesus doesn't want people to know who he is. Mark plays this up a whole lot more than Matthew does, but Matthew hits it a few times as well. Then a centurion. So we have someone who was a unclean person because of a condition they have. Now we have someone who the Jews would have considered unclean, but later we say, hey, wait, God didn't declare them unclean. Their behaviors and other things would have made them ritually impure, but they themselves were not unclean. We have a centurion who comes and has complete faith and understanding of Jesus' authority, which was what we had in the Sermon on the Mount, that he taught with authority. So he heals from a distance. He heals by a word. And he just says it, and it happens. And then Jesus referring to, there are those who are going to come from far away and be part of the kingdom, and those who think they're in the kingdom because, well, they're descendants. They're not actually in the kingdom. Some of those who are just claiming to be descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but do not live a life that is in alignment with the teachings of Abraham or the teachings of Moses, or they're only doing it in the letter of the law and not the spirit. They have no relationship with God, and they have no love for others. They're going to be out with the weeping and gnashing of teeth. So we have that example. So the healing of a centurion's slave. Then we have Peter's mother-in-law. And this is an interesting one. It's like there's nobody that mentions that somebody asked Jesus to do this. The first two there, we have Jesus being asked. Now, when Peter entered the house, he saw, like, okay, I thought he was crossing the boat to go to the other side. Now he's entering Peter's house, or his mother-in-law's house, and she's sick with fever, and he touches her and heals her. So, like, there is no asking here. Jesus just takes and does it. So we don't always have to have maybe the request, or maybe we just don't know the request. We don't know who the request is of. Maybe there's a reason for hiding it, but it's just a simple, like, this is almost a throwaway story. Yeah, he saw his mother-in-law lying down, sick with fever, so he touched her. She got up, and then she began to serve them. So the proof of her having been fully restored is the getting up and serving. It's also a way for her, out of gratitude for being healed, to demonstrate her appreciation and respond with love towards the one who did this. So we do have the responses of people at times doing that. So now we have, we could say, this is more a healing of disease or sickness than perhaps the leprosy, although we might classify them the same. Being sick didn't keep you from being socially connected or temple worship because of uncleanness. The leprosy was a permanent thing until he was restored. Hers would have been a temporary thing. So we have three different types of healings that happen there. We don't know specifically what the servant had other than injury and pain. And now we're going to move to another healing, which is a demoniac. And there's two of them. Matthew likes to do this. Matthew likes to put two people in the story. Why does Matthew put two people in the story? Other times when Mark or John or Luke tell the story, there's one person. When Matthew tells it, there's two. And there is almost like there's this rabbinic idea to put two people when you tell a story and then you have one person acting, you are to be invited to be the other person in the story. So when there are two donkeys, the mother and the colt, when there are two disciples, when there are two demoniacs, there's the invitation to put yourself in the story. And that's what Matthew is doing in some way. So are you in such dire straits that you need Jesus? Do you see the fullness of who he is? You are invited to be in the story with him. So there were, this is first before that. I got ahead of myself. He's just bringing demon-possessed people and those who are spirit, and he healed all those who were sick. And then he took our weakness and carried disease. Sorry, there's the connection there with backwards to Scripture first, and then we'll get a specific story. So I missed one there. And before he leaves, he has a couple of people that are asking him questions. So we'll come back to the demoniac in a second. So an expert in the law says, "Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go." And there is the foxes have dens, and birds of the sky have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head. Some people are looking to follow him. Why? Because now it looks like a prestigious thing to do. It looks like perhaps a wonderful thing to do. Like, hey, the crowds are following you. I want to be a part of that. And Jesus' warning to him is, it's not what you think. It's not what you think. It is going to be a high price to pay in order to follow me. The expert in the law maybe saw the authority he had, maybe saw the crowds. Jesus is challenging the motivation of the person. Are you following it for the things you think you will get out of it? And he's saying, no, that's not what you're going to get out of it. And then another of the disciples said to him, this is interesting, another of the disciples. Anything on the footnote? Here, but earlier witnesses lack it. The addition may have been motivated reading to clarify whose disciples were in view, including the pronoun in the brackets. Okay. Lord, let me first go and bury my father. But Jesus said to him, follow me and let the dead bury the dead. Okay. We misunderstand this from this perspective. And I think it's going to become even harder to fully grasp as we go forward, because in ancient times, and especially in Jewish custom, if you touch a dead body, you are unclean until the end of the day. You are going to have the funeral performed as soon as possible, within 24 hours. In the day that the person dies is when the funeral is going to happen. If this man is here telling Jesus he's got to go bury his father, he is violating what he should have been doing if his father is indeed dead, which seems unlikely, because rather than being here in this circumstance, he would have been with his family and he would have been burying his father. So his father is not likely dead, and he's making an excuse to say, I got obligations at home, and I got to settle all of this stuff, and I got to make sure on some level my inheritance is secure, and then I'll come follow you, Jesus. So in both of these cases, it's counting the cost, and it's about what your motive is for doing this. What your motive is for doing this. And he's like, let the dead bury the dead. If it's all about that, they'll be taken care of. You follow me if you're going to follow me. Don't make excuses and don't wait. I know that might seem harsh on some level, but Jesus, he puts it up front for these people. They're going to face hardships and trials. Wouldn't you want to know that up front? So while this sometimes feels like, oh man, that's awful. Let me just look here. Recent research suggests that burial customs of ascending Jerusalem about 2020 involved a reinterment of the bones a year after the initial burial. Okay, so this is suggesting perhaps he has to go back and do that process. Yeah, but it is wait around for a year to make the commitment before following Jesus. Either way, if that's the case of a go back, it's, the remark is an idiom, possibly a proverb saying that means the matter in question is not a real issue, in which case Jesus was making a word play on the wording of the man's literal request. Okay, so it could have been an idiom. First, I have to go bury my father. I can't do it now. Could have been some idiom that was used. And third, this remark could be a figurative reference to the various kinds of people, meaning let the spiritual dead bury the dead. I'm not so sure of that. It could also be a literal and designed to shock the hearer by surprising the contrast. I think it's only shocking in modern times. I don't think it would have been shocking to, it's shocking in the same way, I should say. All right. So then he gets in the boat, and we have a great storm. Where else do we have a great storm? Jonah. Jonah got in a boat. Jonah was supposed to go to Nineveh. He's going to go to Nineveh, and there is a great storm when he goes the opposite way instead of going to Nineveh. So a great storm, and the waves are swamping the boat. We have a reenactment of the story of Jonah on a small scale here. We have seasoned fishermen who are in the boat. They are afraid and terrified, and they wake up Jesus. Oh, you mean like Jonah was sleeping in the boat? Jesus is sleeping, and they go, Lord, save us. We are about to die. They both stories have them going to the sleeping man who is a prophet of God, and they need him to save their lives. Now, the funny thing is, the sailors, when the storm is calmed by throwing Jonah into the sea, are astounded, and they worship God. Here, Jesus, by a word, rebukes them, and they're just like, what sort of person is that the wind and the sea obey him? So we have Jesus healing the uncleanness. We have Jesus healing sickness. We have Jesus healing a foreigner. And we have Jesus' power and authority over creation. So we have his authority and his power demonstrated in multiple ways. And then we come to the two demoniacs. So we already had mention of healing many diseases and cleansing those who had demons. And now we have the two men. And they say, Jesus, leave us alone. It's not our time. You don't have authority here yet. We know we're going to, but it's too early. It's too early. We still got free reign. Before we have to get punished. And this goes to perhaps the idea of what happens in Enoch with being in fiery chains until this goes back to the Nephilim and putting in chains, those that did all of that stuff that rebelled against God and then being held in chains. And Enoch is supposed to go and get the message and come back. So they're making some allusion to that. It seems like our time is not yet up. So they come up with a plan. If you drive us out, send us into the herd of pigs. So I don't know how big a herd of pigs is, but it is going to be an unclean animal. They are unclean spirits. That is how they're usually referred to. So you would think an unclean spirit and an unclean animal would be a welcome thing. The pigs can't handle it. The pigs rush down the steep slope and they drown in the water. Now, is this a intentional running into the water to die, to evade the possession of the demons that are there? Don't know entirely. What is the motivation? If they're just out of control and they're running to water because that makes sense to them and they're overcome by the demons, then we don't also get what happens to the demons after the pigs die. Are they trapped? Do they roam freely? We have nothing about that part. We just have the awesome power of destruction that came from them. And then we have the herdsmen go into town, spread the news, everybody comes, and they're like, Jesus, leave. We don't know what to do with this power. I really, truly love this response at times. When you see the awesome power of God, you don't know how to respond, and it's like, maybe you need to leave because I'm not worthy of this. It reminds me of when God's power was demonstrated to the people of Israel when they were at Mount Sinai, and he shows them, and they're like, Moses, your face is glowing, and we can't handle this. We can't listen to God. You need to be the one to go between. And I think it was a bad choice. And here they're begging him to go away and leave the region because they don't know what else to do. This is so awe-inspiring, and it's so confrontational to everything they know. You can't help but want to be somewhere else and not be in that circumstance of the uneasiness. No doubt there is a possibility they feel like the pigs and want to run into the water at the very presence of Jesus. Or I should say the demon-possessed pigs. All right, any thoughts, questions on that? I know that's a long section, but wanted to try to get that all in.